So every year Apple launches their new iOS updates, and this year was no different. So this year Apple launched their new iOS 17 updates, and I've actually been running the beta software on my phone for a bit, and the public release should be coming on September 18th, which is probably going to be the same day I upload this video, so make sure to check for that on your phone if you haven't already. But anyways, this year was, well, it was an interesting year. Now, we have had significantly bigger and more visible updates than this, including iOS 7, which was a complete rehaul of the whole system, and even iOS 16 last year, which was like completely rehauling the whole lock screen and adding a bunch of cool features here and there. But for this year, well, you could say there was more specific and smaller changes that were spread all across the board, making significant improvements. So let's take a look at some of these new changes and the bigger changes and what I dislike and like about them. Now, starting off with the phone app, this is where you're going to notice most of the visible changes on your phone. And one of these big changes is going to be these new contact cards or contact posters. Now, this is basically when somebody calls you or you call them, or even when you open their contact info and you see their name, their picture, their phone number, their email, all that random stuff. Well, now all of that information is redesigned and it looks more elegant. It's definitely more inspired from the lock screen update we got last year, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But basically, this is a nice refresh and I think it looks more modern and sleek, which is where all the major updates for the past couple of years do seem to tend to be going towards. Now, as I mentioned before, there's a lot of big inspiration coming from last year's wallpaper settings. And one of these big visible changes is now you could actually change the font and the font size of, well, anybody's name. Now, this half works, half not. Maybe it's because I'm still on the beta software, but sometimes when somebody's name is long, it does tend to cut off, and moreover, it doesn't show you the last name when you're editing it, but for some reason, when you do actually finish editing it, it does show the last name with the first name in a smaller size. Now, if I had to guess, by the time we actually get the public release for iOS 17 or even iOS 17.1, we are going to have a more finished look to all this editing, and we are going to have solutions to all the problems that I just mentioned. Now, aside from that, we also get these new color options. Some of these we did get with the wallpapers last year, and some of these are actually brand new. And moreover, we actually get this new feature called NameDrop. Now, NameDrop is pretty cool, and what it is essentially you could bring together two Apple Watches or iPhones and bring them close together, and they'll use AirDrop to send each other your contact poster using this really cool animation. Now, what's even cooler is you could actually make separate contact posters. So you could have one for your business, one for personal use, one for school, and one for just fake information if you don't want to give somebody your real information. And you could switch between all of these contact cards and choose what you want to name drop. And as I mentioned before, you could even use Apple Watches. So you could go from iPhone to Apple Watch, or even an Apple Watch to an Apple Watch. And anyways, aside from that, in the phone app, we also get this new live voicemail, which is if you ever had like a landline phone back in the past, you probably are somewhat familiar with this. So here's how we would go about leaving these voicemails. So I'm going to call myself right here, send to voicemail.
Now, the person you're trying to reach is not available. At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up.
Okay, so, hey, are we done for today, or are we still going to do some more stuff? And we could accept it right here. And you get the idea. But essentially what live voicemail is basically somebody could be calling you and you might not know who it is, or maybe you're in a class or a meeting and you can't pick up. You could basically send them to voicemail using this button, and if they decide to speak into the voicemail box, you could see a live transcription of what they're saying in English. And if you decide that I actually do want to pick up this call, this is more urgent, or I actually know this guy, you could pick up right in the middle of them speaking into the voicemail. Now, if you don't pick up, this voicemail is going to be saved into your call app. Now, similar to this, you could actually leave these new voicemails for FaceTime now, or well, you can't even call them voicemails because they're actually video messages. But essentially, if somebody doesn't pick up your FaceTime, you could leave behind this new video message feature, and that's going to go to them, and then you could see it later as a voicemail. Once again, pretty cool feature, and all these features spread out all across the phone app are great, and once again, small changes but spread out all across. Now, another cool feature that we got was standby mode. Now, standby mode is this new display setting we got, and you essentially put your phone on charging and put it horizontally, and it shows this new display that you can customize to your own liking. And it's basically like a bedside display, or you could even put it on the kitchen counter or your study desk, your work desk. And it essentially shows the time, but you could even customize it to show reminders, the Notes app, or even App Store suggestions for some reason. I don't know who's gonna do that, but it's cool, it's there, I guess. Along with that, it also turns red at night, which is easier on your eyes. And I think there's actually something similar on the Apple Watch Ultra. Don't quote me on that, but it is pretty cool. It's a dynamic look. However, there is one specific part of the standby mode that is going to disappoint most people, including me, but also totally makes sense, is the fact that the standby mode actually turns off after a few seconds. And to turn it on again, you have to tap the display, or if you're like me and you have tap to wake off, you have to turn on the display from the on button on the side. Now, as I mentioned before, this does make sense because your phone is going to lose a lot of battery and it's going to completely mess up its battery life if you have this on for like a few hours non-stop every day. Now, I'm pretty sure if you own the 14 or 15 Pro or Pro Max, you shouldn't really face this issue because you already have the whole always on display thing, and it can go down to 1 Hertz, so it shouldn't really be a big strain on your battery. But at the same time, I wouldn't really know because this whole YouTube gig doesn't really pay me enough to own a 14 Pro. But make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel down below if you do want to help this channel. It would help a lot. But as I was saying, I'm pretty sure this is a feature on the 14 or 15 Pro or Pro Max. But anything aside from that, I don't think that's going to be a feature, which sucks, but at the same time, makes complete sense. But anyways, putting that aside, let's move on to iMessage because, well, I have a really long list for iMessage features right here. So to start off, for iMessage, we did get a slight design change. So we do get all those icons that used to be on the bottom to change to this new plus icon on the side. Now, clicking on this plus does open all your apps, and you could swipe down below. Before, you had to swipe down right. Now, speaking of swiping right, you can now swipe on any message in an iMessage conversation to reply to it. And this is great because, well, we've had this for a long time on literally every messaging platform out there, and it was very annoying swiping on any message prior to this update, and well, it just didn't work, and it is very frustrating, and it's finally here. Glad to see it, better late than never. Along with this, we have this new catch up arrow, which is there to catch up on any conversation that's really long so you don't have to swipe all the way up. Once again, this is on literally every messaging platform known to mankind, but it's great that it's finally here, and once again, better late than never. Now, one feature I know I'm really gonna like that is very close to the live voicemail feature is new live transcription for audio messages. So previously, if you got an audio message on iMessage, you would have to raise your iPhone and listen to it, but now you actually have this new transcription. So once again, you're in class, you're in a meeting, or you don't really want to listen to it. Now you can just read the transcription instead of having to listen to the person's voice, which is great, and it's very convenient. So I was just editing the video and I realized I completely forgot to talk about the new check-in feature, which is arguably like one of the biggest features in iOS 17 for some people, especially those people with children that have phones. So basically what check-in is you could input the route or the final destination, I guess, because I don't know, I personally haven't used it. But for people that are going to use it, you could input the final destination and what time the person's supposed to reach. And then when they reach there, it's going to automatically ping the receiver end that, well, your kid or your wife or your roommate is there and you have nothing to worry about. Or maybe like if they're stuck in traffic, then they'll get a ping that they're stuck in traffic. So it's that type of thing. And obviously this is going to be really useful for people with kids, people with roommates or friends or family that they have to worry about. This is going to be very useful for them, and it's going to be a very stress-free option. And anyways, that's it. That's back to the video. Now, another feature that we got in iMessage that's actually very underrated and probably my favorite is going to be the search filters. And this is cool because now you could search in specific conversations, but you could even search in specific formats. For example, if I want to find maybe a picture that I sent to my dad, and maybe it had mountains in it. And right there, using those filters, it is very easy to find a specific message that you sent to somebody even a long time ago. And previously, this was very hard and perhaps even impossible. But now I think this is going to be very convenient. And once again, I said it already, very underrated feature and probably my favorite in the whole iOS 17. Now, lastly, this is kind of out of place, but at the same time, I guess it's cool for the people that do want to use it. And we get these new options for stickers in iMessage. And you can place any of these stickers anywhere on a specific message in any conversation. Now you have a lot of options for these stickers because you're not only limited to Apple's own stickers, but even you can make stickers out of your camera roll. So I could go to any picture and lift out the subject, which is a feature we got, I believe, last year. But basically you could lift out the subject, make it a sticker, add effects that actually work when you tilt your phone, and then you could place it anywhere in a conversation. Along with this, you could actually use live photos. So basically you could have the live photo animating and playing out, and it's a cutout of the sticker. So you could use that live photo and it's going to be animating all across your message wherever you put it. And you could use stickers in third-party apps like Snapchat. So that's pretty cool, I guess. Once again, out of place. I don't think I'm personally going to use it too much, but there are people that are going to use it, which is obviously why they made it. But putting all those stickers and iMessages aside, we also have a lot of nice improvements all across the system. These are basically small design changes that everybody's definitely going to notice. There's no way you won't notice it, but at the same time, they're not as big that they actually refresh the system like iOS 7 did. But at the same time, once again, small changes appreciated all across the board. Now, one of the big changes with this is the widget system, which now you could actually tap on the widgets and you could actually get stuff done. For example, reminders app, you could actually tap on the reminders and you could get them ticked off. Or even with music app or any other app, it is pretty cool. It is going to be very practical. And a lot of people are going to be in the comments down below saying, well, why didn't Apple come up with this before? Android's had it since like 59 years and Apple just came up with it now. And honestly, that's a fair argument. I don't think Apple had an excuse for making it so late. But once again, better late than never. Now, there are a lot of other smaller features in Apple apps like Safari, the camera roll app, or even on Spotlight. Now, I actually am making a whole separate video about this that is coming out 1 or 2 days after this one. So that actually might be out already. I'll probably link it in the video if it is. But if it isn't, make sure to subscribe to the channel and wait for that. Now, another one of my personal favorites is in the car where you actually get to share music. Now, this feature is basically if one iPhone is connected to the car and playing music through CarPlay, other people can actually connect to that iPhone using their own iPhone and change the music. Now, this is a very nice and convenient feature because if you want to change what's playing on the car, you don't even have to change out the cable or mess with any Bluetooth settings or mess with the actual driver's phone. Instead, you could just go on your phone, change the share play, and now you could actually play music from your own phone without having to mess too much. Now, another nice upgrade we got to something that completely sucked in previous versions, well, not completely, but it was pretty frustrating, is the AutoCorrect settings on the keyboard. Now, Apple says we have better AutoCorrect with this software, whatever that means, but along with that, we actually have a new interface for when you do get autocorrected, and this includes suggestions to fill up the next couple of words or even a full sentence. And to actually imply these suggestions, you could press the spacebar. And we also have sentence level corrections for grammar. So previously, if AutoCorrect thought that you were messing up in grammar, it would immediately correct you on the spot. But now, sometimes since, well, you are right on grammar, but it's too soon for AutoCorrect to actually notice that, it'll actually wait till the end of the sentence. And if there's still a grammar mistake, it'll fix it. But if it wasn't a grammar mistake and you were actually right, it won't actually do anything. Now, another big feature is that the keyboard actually learns the words you use. So previously, it would learn like certain names, but after a lot of tries, here, if you actually use a word and then it fixes it, and then you fix it like, no, this is the right word, and well, AutoCorrect, you're wrong. After that, it won't fix it again. So that was great because it was frustrating, man. Like, you have no idea if you use Android, you have no idea how bad it was. But yeah, that was keyboard. Once again, very small changes, but oh my god, man, these are going to be great for a lot of people. Now, moving on, we actually got a bunch of upgrades to the AirPods, or well, more specifically, the AirPods Pro 2nd generation, which I actually use. Now, one big change that we actually got was a completely new mode called adaptive audio. Now, this is basically mixing noise cancellation and transparency. So it could pick out what it thinks that you do need to listen, like people's voices or even car horns, but cancel out other stuff like road noise or even the subway or anything else like cafeteria noise. It'll completely silence out those noises, or to a certain degree, and it'll keep in people's voices when they're talking to you, or like car horns in the back, anything that it feels is important. Now another feature is conversation awareness, where it actually lowers the volume when you're talking. Once again, very helpful. And number 3, we actually have press the button to mute. Once again, I don't know what you want me to say, but very helpful. Now, similar to the other smaller hidden features, I actually have a separate video coming about this later this week. I'll make sure to link it up on this video once it's actually up. But make sure to go through the channel and look for that if you haven't already. And let's move on to the next feature. Now for AirDrop, you could actually continue airdropping a person after they leave, or if your phone turns off or anything. And this is via iCloud, so basically the file will upload to iCloud if you or the other person leave, and the AirDrop will continue. Now there's also another feature very close to NameDrop, and this is basically you could open a file and bring your phone close to another phone, and you guessed it, it's gonna AirDrop. Now moving on, we actually got a couple of new features with Siri. Now Siri is absolutely garbage, it absolutely sucks compared to Google and all the other voice assistants there, but now, well, it sucks less. So number 1 for Siri, we get back-to-back requests. This is basically you could make one request, and instead of having to reactivate Siri again, you could make another request. Hey Siri, can you set an alarm for 7 o'clock?
Your alarm is set for 7 p.m.
Also, what's the weather in Burnaby right now?
It's currently cloudy and 18 degrees in Burnaby.
What's the weather like tomorrow?
Should be sunny tomorrow.
Now this is cool and more convenient, but at the same time, I know a lot of us would actually value more accuracy and more in-depth answers instead of, well, the mess that Siri is right now. And another small feature is now, instead of saying hey Siri, you could opt into saying just Siri. Once again, small feature, I think most of us would just opt in for Siri just being better instead of saying Siri instead of hey Siri and all those other weird features. Now there's also an update to AirTags that is gonna hype a lot of people, and that's the AirTags and other Find My items can now be shared to up to 5 people instead of just being limited to one account. So for example, if you have a dog that you're walking and it has an AirTag, and maybe one day somebody else is going to walk it, you could share the AirTag with that person, so if the dog does run away, now they have access to the AirTag too. That's going to be a very underrated feature. A lot of people are going to be appreciating it, but at the same time it's somewhat niche. But anyways, moving on from that, we have another niche feature, which is the new journal app, except it's not really out yet, so I can't really give my impressions about it. But it is supposed to be journaling your mental health and how you're feeling and what you did. And in return, Apple's gonna give you suggestions for how to be even better in your mental health. And overall, it's supposed to be a mood booster, gonna be great for journaling your feelings, but at the same time, not out yet. Now, to end off the video, let's talk about compatibility. iOS 17 is going to be compatible with all the phones made in 2018 and after. So that's the iPhone XS, XS Max, and the XR, and everything made after that. So the 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And also it's going to be compatible with the iPhone SE 2nd generation. So it's pretty cool that they do maintain their software updates for 5 years. Also, rest in peace iPhone X, you'll be missed. But anyways, that's it for this video. Make sure to like if you liked the video, and also make sure to comment what your favorite feature for iOS 17 was, or maybe a feature that you think is actually completely a gimmick and you hate it. And also make sure to subscribe, because I do have a video coming out very soon about all the hidden smaller features that Apple didn't really talk about, and also the AirPod features in depth. So once again, make sure to subscribe if you do want to watch those, and I'll see you in the next video.